Hi guys, and welcome to a new Boy Reads World video. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's well and ready for the last month of 2016, which has, let's be frank, a really shit year. So let's make the last month a good one, shall we? And yeah, let's get on with my November wrap-up, which consists of 2 books, which is really sad, but you know, what can you do? Well, read more, I guess. Anyway, let's get on with it. So the 2 books that I read in November are 2 books that I've seen a lot on BookTube over the past few months or even years when it comes to one book. And yeah, that book is actually The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which, like I said, I've seen on quite a lot of channels, and there's always been good reviews and people who've loved it. But I have to say that this was an enjoyable read, but also quite forgettable, which surprised me a bit because, you know, people have been raving about this book for quite some time. And I have to say that the initial premise of this story quite appealed to me because, you know, for those of you who don't know, this is about Harold Fry, who decides one day to post a letter to Queenie, who is a former colleague of his who he hasn't seen in quite a while and who is dying. And, you know, he wants to post a letter to her to express his sorrow and, you know, the other things that people express when somebody is dying. One day he goes out and decides to post his letter, but when he comes to the mailbox, he decides that, well, you know, let's go to the next mailbox. We'll see then. And, you know, the next mailbox turns into the next mailbox, and suddenly he's on his way to post the letter by hand, which is quite a journey because he lives in the south of England and he wants to go to the north of England, which is roughly translated to like going from, I don't know, Brussels to Copenhagen or something like that. Maybe not so far, but, you know, that's the way I saw it. Maybe Brussels to Amsterdam. Anyway, enough with the geography. This starts out quite funny, and, you know, you want to know what's going on with him and why he decides to do that, but I have to say that this lacked a bit of character development for me. You get the story on how he and Queenie met and how he and his wife are doing, how their marriage has evolved over the past few years, but I don't know, it just lacked something for me. And I know that there's a sequel or, you know, an accompanying book to this about Queenie herself, and maybe I'm going to pick that one up because I've heard quite a few people say that they've shed a tear with Queenie Hennessy's story, so maybe that'll appeal more to me, but I don't know. I gave this 3 stars, I think, which is quite generous for the way that I felt about it, because, I don't know, I was expecting something heartwarming, and it didn't quite do that for me, but, you know, pity. Then my final and another light read that I did in November was The Improbability of Love, and I actually enjoyed this quite a bit more than Harold Fry because, mostly because of the painting in this, which is called The Improbability of Love, but it also has its own voice, so it describes its surroundings, it describes the people that it has met during its lifetime because it was painted in the 17th, 16th century, something like that, and it has hung at Versailles, it has hung at museums, it has hung during Catherine the Great's reign in Russia, and all these stories, all these fun history facts it recounts, and, you know, that really was the highlight of this book. And you also have some sort of semi-romance intertwined with this, but not that much, so, you know, I don't like all that much romance, really, so I wasn't too fussed about that. For those of you who don't know, this is about a painting called The Improbability of Love, who was lost for quite some time, but in this book, Annie, the main protagonist, found it in a junk shop, and when the book opens, you're at this big auction because everybody wants to buy it. And yeah, the story goes on from that, but also it takes a look at who is Annie, how did she happen to find this, and, you know, the story between her finding it and it appearing at an auction. And you get the backstory of the most important people who are at this auction. So yeah, quite enjoyed this one, and it was also shortlisted, I think, for the man... No. And it was also shortlisted for the Bailey's Prize, so, you know, always a good sign. So those were the 2 books that I read in November. Like I said, this wasn't a really good reading month. It wasn't a good reading month. It was a bad reading month, but you have some of those, don't you? So on to the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and the first one is Tender by Belinda Mckeon, who is an Irish writer. I haven't read anything by her before. And this will also feature in my next video, which is another book haul. This is about a boy and a girl meeting each other in Ireland in the 1990s, but this isn't your typical boy meets girl story, because you soon find out that the boy is actually gay and the girl is really shy, but he tries to open her up and... that sounds weird. He tries to make her... I don't know how to say this. He tries to get her out of her shell. Yeah, that's the one. He tries to get her out of her shell, and that actually works, but it comes at a price for him, as I am gradually discovering. So yeah, quite intriguing. And then the second one that I'm currently reading is Mislaid by Nell Zink. I've been reading this one for quite a while, but I've picked it up again this month, and it's such a weird one. I haven't read anything about Nell Zink before, but it also features a gay character, but in a totally different way, as in his sexuality isn't really much of a plot point as it is in Tender. And actually this is about a gay professor having a relationship and 2 children with one of his lesbian students in the 1950s in America. I hope I said all of that right. And you gradually discover that they really don't love each other, which is obvious, and they split up. But then it takes a weird turn, because they're both white, but the woman decides to raise one of her children as black, which is weird, because, you know, the child is lily white, but everybody just goes along with it, and, you know, she gets benefits because she is a minority, because she says her child is black, and it's really weird, and yeah, I'm having some difficulties with it, but maybe it'll feature in my December wrap-up, I don't know, but, you know, currently reading this one too. So those were the 2 books that I read, and the 2 books that I'm currently reading in November. If some of you have also read or are currently reading those, please let me know in the comments down below, and we'll have a chat about it. And I'll see you very soon with my November book haul. Yeah, you definitely will. Bye!